IRA,
Not no,
Internal Revenue Allotment.
not really. This anti-GMA thing.
Yes.
Because people don't understand, you said this, people don't understand the historical lessons that need to be learned of People Power 1 and People Power 2.
Right.
After the bad government is turned, there is no vision and everything's in disarray. We have changed from Marcos to Aquino, and then we ousted Estrada, then we got an even different a worse president, Arroyo. So how will you be different
Okay.
from all of these presidents?
This is a fantastic question, Noemi, because I'm so glad you brought it up.
Yeah.
I'm sure that we did not talk about it beforehand.
No, I saw it in your new politics. What is not?
Yes.
What is new politics and what is traditional politics? Because people are confused. We need this person because is opposite of GMA. So what makes you different?
Okay. The first thing about People Power 1 and People Power 2, and this is a very important historical lesson. First, of course, appreciate what it did, for example, restoring a sense of democracy from the dictatorship. But at the same time, it also showed us, especially clearly in People Power 2, that if a country is mobilized against something, not for something, then the agenda after the turnover of government, under the collapse of a dictatorship or bad government, you don't know where you're going to go. Because all the energy was focused against removing somebody. There's no vision. And I know this firsthand because during People Power 2, one of my tasks was to convene and to actually create the agenda of the future once Estrada's gone. And you know what? Very little interest from all the groups that participated.
What was your vision?
The vision is very similar to my platform. And this is the point. It's easier to mobilize a kind of hatred against something rather than to mobilize again as a kind of inspiration for a new vision about a new country. This is very different. So that's why.
So your line is not anti-GMA.
No. The GMA is just standing on the way of
You're not the
vision.
opposite of GMA.
No. The point here is that this country can be something else, a much better country than it has been in the past. We have to outline this vision. That's why the beginning point for me of the new politics is a vision of what this country can be. And I often cite in some contexts the study done, a very thorough study done by European sociologists, and it's encoded in a book documented in a book called Image of the Future by Perlas. It's a study of 5,000 years of Western civilization, the ups and downs of Western civilization. And one of the key elements when they try to discover what causes the collapse of a nation, is it economics? Is it ecological collapse? Is it political, military? What was it? The number one factor that created and destroyed nations is either the presence of a positive image of the future or the lack of it. Clearly, the Philippines has been kind of shipwrecked because it has no positive image of the future. So how are you going to galvanize aspirations of millions of Filipinos if you don't know where this country is going? So that's why for me, new politics starts from this, and then you find the group of people and leaders that are going to be faithful to this vision and who have the track record to carry it out, together with, of course, the Filipino people. And that was the premise of the new politics. Not here, who's most popular so he can win, then he mounts a certain platform that's coming from nowhere. This is not what will bring this country forward. That's why I framed in my open letter kay Noynoy before he decided that it will be a disservice if we avoid short-circuit the process of a national visioning process so as to align the highest aspirations of a nation towards a common focal point. That's why I started my new thing with that. And then saying that then you can now check my track record if I can actually bring this vision, create a reality out of it. That's the importance of a vision of the new politics.
How about the properties of our squatters?
informal
traffic,
sectors. Yes.
and pollution, population.
Yes. Okay. Uh, we can talk about it from a structural perspective and a palliative perspective. The structural perspective would be we have an urbanization problem because we failed in achieving equitable, broad-based economic development. That's what happens. We have, example, Metro Manila has 92% of the financial capital of the country. They're all focused in. It's all based in Metro Manila. Cebu has about 4 to 5%. And then the rest is distributed in all the urban centers. This might have changed with the emergence of Davao. But we need to have an economic development that allows the different regions of the Philippines to also develop, not just Metro Manila. And so that people will not keep on flocking to urban centers, and we will have a wonderful balance between urban and rural life. Get the best of the urban, get the best of the rural. I think that's the long-term structural approach, a broad-based economic development. Because if people remain poor, they will migrate to the cities and overload the city. The services capacity of the city, the water, the garbage, the pollution, all of this is as a result of people migrating, and the traffic, the pollution. So we should be creating wide-scale opportunities in the countryside as a kind of part of the strategic vision. And then in the meantime, in the near term, in the immediate term, if we want to relocate, let's say, I've spoken with leaders of urban groups, and I asked them, are you open to being relocated away from floodplains and living in riverbeds where you're going to be the first victims of another Ondoy, especially in the age of climate change? It's interesting because I was just recently in a conversation with one of the ambassadors here, the British ambassador. He showed me a map that was done by the British government, and the Philippines is one of the hotspots of tropical cyclones and super typhoons. And this is already also well known with the Asian Development Bank study on climate change. So I was speaking with the urban leaders. Here's not the context. Ondoy is not an event that will happen in another 100 years. Probably in 2010, there will be another Ondoy. So, will you allow yourselves to be relocated to another area where it's safer? They all said yes. Under the provisions, number one, that they are consulted, and the place of relocation also is livelihood opportunities, so that they're not just yanked up and they're at nowhere, and then they have no livelihood. That's why they came to Manila in the first place, to seek livelihood. So I think an integrated approach to the challenge of informal settlers, I think is doable. And some of this might require partnerships with private sector. For example, every time I see a cluttered block in Manila owned by a private person who probably cannot know what to do with it, I can really see a mixed-use development there with the urban poor involved. So they don't actually have to migrate or to be resettled anywhere. We can provide together as a partnership the person who owns the land, a building construction, and have terms that are affordable to the urban poor. And this can be achieved by consultation. We always have to think that when we're dealing with problems, we're dealing with human beings, with people with dignity, whom we have to respect. And that's why for me, the fourth pillar that encompasses, that actually reaches out to the others, is this radical sense of openness of government, radical sense of true, genuine participation of people, especially affected sectors, in government policies and government initiatives. And the same will happen with the question of the urban poor, or some people call them informal sectors. It's, I mean, can I just say a kind of like,